Lily stood still before the tiny white casket covered in pale pink roses. She couldn't hear the pastor's words or feel the gentle squeeze of her husband Nate's hand. The world had gone silent. Only the soft rustle of wind through the trees in the Garden of Angels, the section of the cemetery reserved for children, remained. That was where she was burying her 6-month-old daughter Emily, taken suddenly by SIDS. But it wasn't just the loss of her baby that left Lily numb. It was the empty space where her parents should have been. Nancy and George, her mother and father, had chosen not to come. They were 3 miles away attending a poolside engagement party for their golden boy son Kyle. Up until the last minute, Lily had held on to hope that they would appear. Before the service began, she checked her phone. No texts, no missed calls. Just one message from Kyle: sorry about the baby. Hope the funeral goes okay. So excited for tonight's party, the grief twisted into something colder, something deeper than heartbreak. She tried to hold back her tears but couldn't. Nate gripped her hand tighter. On the other side of them stood Nate's parents, the Carters, crying openly as if they had lost their own granddaughter. Friends from Lily's hospital, college, classmates, neighbors. They were all there. Everyone except the people who should have been there first. Her own parents. She remembered her last call with her mother just 2 days before the funeral. You understand, don't you? Kyle's party has been planned for weeks. Emily was just a baby. You're young. You'll have another. Something inside Lily broke. Not just because of the callousness, but because her mother truly meant it. To Nancy, Emily was just a baby. Kyle's party was too important to miss. As the pastor concluded the sermon and the casket was lowered, Lily felt her legs weaken. Nate placed a steadying hand on her back. Together they watched their daughter's casket descend into the earth. In that moment, Lily wasn't just burying her child, she was burying the last shred of hope that her parents would ever love her the way they loved Kyle. No one asked about Nancy and George, but the unspoken tension in the air said everything: shocked expressions, quiet pity, and silent judgment. Nate's mother wrapped her arm around Lily and whispered, "You don't have to explain, sweetheart. The people who matter already understand." And as the wind blew gently through the cemetery, one thought took root in Lily's heart. If her parents had chosen Kyle, she would choose Emily. Even in death, she would protect her child from being forgotten ever again. Since she was little, Lily had known she wasn't her parents' priority. In the Reynolds household, the spotlight had always belonged to Kyle. Her older brother by 3 years, often called the perfect son or the pride of the family. Meanwhile, Lily quietly learned to step back and stay quiet. She couldn't count the number of times she had brought home straight A's only to receive a distracted nod. But Kyle, he'd score a B and complete a basic sports tryout, and a family cookout would be thrown in his honor. When Lily made the state academic team in 5th grade, an incredibly rare feat at her school, her parents had simply said, "Good job, honey. But did you hear Kyle has a big soccer game this weekend?" In her family, nothing Lily did ever seemed to matter enough. Dinner conversations were always Kyle-centered. His piano recitals, his new girlfriend, his acceptance into summer programs. Lily was offered a perfunctory, "How'd that test go, sweetheart?" and then silence. No one listened. Favoritism wasn't a one-time thing. It was her entire childhood. Kyle's birthdays meant parties at fancy venues with clowns and towering cakes. Lily got a small cake at home, sometimes postponed if it clashed with one of Kyle's games. He had a college fund set up by 8th grade. Lily was told girls usually get married, you'll be taken care of. For years, Lily believed that if she worked harder, achieved more, behaved better, maybe then she'd earn their love. But that moment never came. She was just the other child, never the center, never the priority. So she grew up quietly lonely. She poured herself into school-earned scholarships, worked part-time jobs, and moved out as soon as she could. Lily never said it aloud, but she had made a vow her children would never grow up feeling invisible. When she met Nate during sophomore year, Lily was almost stunned by how openly his family expressed affection. They remembered her presentation dates, texted her good luck before exams, and once made her a handmade card to celebrate passing her first nursing certification. For the first time in her life, Lily saw that family could mean unconditional care, not comparison or competition. But the wounds from her childhood never fully healed. Even after marriage and motherhood, even with a stable career, Lily still wrestled with that buried belief that she had to constantly prove she mattered. And in the wake of her daughter's death, those old wounds didn't fade away. They came roaring back sharper than ever. Lily met Nate during a sophomore year study group, both pursuing very different degrees, but sharing one passion: helping people. Nate was studying architectural engineering, and Lily was training to be a pediatric nurse. From long nights at the library to lingering coffee dates, they slowly became inseparable. What truly shocked Lily when she met Nate's family wasn't their money, it was their kindness. Nate's mother, Susan, remembered the exact date of Lily's first big exam and sent her a good luck text at 7 a.m. His father, Tom, asked about her studies with genuine interest, not just polite small talk. They never forgot her birthday or left her out during the holidays, even when she was just the girlfriend. It took Lily time to believe that love could look like this, that not all families were built on conditions or comparison. For the first time, she felt seen not for her grades or her sacrifices, but simply for being herself. When Nate proposed by the lake one golden autumn afternoon, Lily cried harder than she expected, not just from joy, but because it finally felt like she had been given a chance to start over with a family that chose her. Their wedding was simple but beautiful, held at a small countryside farm in Vermont. Nate's family handled almost every detail from catering to setting up the outdoor tents. Lily's parents attended but barely participated. Her mother complained about the lack of air conditioning while her father sat alone in the car before the night was even over. Still, that day became one of the happiest of Lily's life, because she knew she was marrying a man who chose her every single day without conditions. They bought a small starter home in the suburbs 40 minutes from Lily's parents and just over an hour from Nate's. Lily told people it was for work convenience, but deep down she needed the distance physically and emotionally from the place that had made her feel unworthy. When Lily found out she was pregnant, Nate's family was overjoyed. Her mother-in-law immediately began planning the baby shower, asking about nursery themes, name ideas, and sending parenting articles. She even kept a journal to document Lily's pregnancy milestones. Her own parents' response: "Oh, that's nice. Did you hear Kyle might get promoted?" Lily hadn't expected much, but somehow it still hurt, like a pin to a long-faded bruise. Still, this time she wouldn't let it ruin her joy. She and Nate prepared everything for baby Emily on their own, from painting the nursery pale yellow to picking a name based on one of Lily's rare happy childhood memories. She believed Emily would grow up in a different kind of home, a home where she would be loved unconditionally, a home where there were no favorite children and no one was forgotten for being a daughter. That was Lily's greatest hope. And on a snowy winter morning, as she held her newborn daughter in the hospital, Lily knew this was the beginning of something new, a chapter of real love without conditions. Emily was born on a snowy winter morning with white flakes covering the hospital windows, as if the whole world had paused to welcome something miraculous. Lily held her baby girl in her arms, tears streaming down her face. Emily had Lily's blue eyes, Nate's dark hair, and a gummy angelic smile that melted everything inside her. Nate immediately called his parents. Within hours, the Carters arrived at the hospital, arms full of teddy bears, soft blankets, homemade soup, and the kind of warm hugs that told Lily she wasn't alone. They cried tears of joy. They kissed Emily's forehead. They asked about the birth and quietly tidied the room so Lily could rest. Lily's parents were different. They came the next day, stayed for exactly 45 minutes. Her mother borrowed a mirror from a nurse to fix her makeup while her father kept checking his watch. When Emily began to cry, they awkwardly handed her back like a delicate object they couldn't handle. "She's so fragile," her mother said. "Don't forget the diaper cream every time." And then they left for a hair appointment. 6 months later, the contrast between both sides of the family had only grown starker. Nate's parents, even though they lived over an hour away, visited nearly every weekend. They brought dinner, held Emily so Lily and Nate could eat together, and took hundreds of photos. Lily's mother even started a personalized photo album, every smile, every roll, every footstep in the grass preserved with pure, devoted love. Her own parents had visited twice. Once because her mother's book club friend insisted on meeting the baby. The second time was a quick drop-in on the way to dinner with Kyle. Both visits were underwhelming. Emily was held for less than 5 minutes. When she cried, her mother commented, "She's sensitive, isn't she? Or maybe she just doesn't know our scent." Still, Lily stayed hopeful. She texted weekly updates, Emily's first laugh, first time rolling over her adorable babbles. Her mother would respond with a single thumbs-up emoji. Her father didn't reply at all. When Lily planned Emily's dedication ceremony, a small but meaningful event at church to introduce her daughter to the faith community, she invited her parents early hopeful. Her mother initially agreed, but then Kyle announced his engagement. Lily received a call, "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. Kyle just got engaged. We're throwing a pool party that weekend to celebrate. That baby thing at church. Maybe another time." Another time. A once-in-a-lifetime moment for their first and only grandchild was discarded in favor of a party that could have been moved to any weekend. Lily didn't argue. She just nodded like she had always nodded when her birthday was delayed. Her milestones ignored, her brother prioritized. But this time she wasn't a child anymore. She was a mother. And deep down, Lily knew this wasn't just forgetfulness. It was a choice. Once again, they chose Kyle and left Emily behind. In their little home filled with laughter and soft yellow wallpaper printed with woodland creatures, Lily had no idea that night would be the last she'd ever spend with her daughter. Emily had just recovered from a mild cold. Nothing serious, just a runny nose and some light coughing. Her pediatrician had checked her and reassured them it was a minor viral infection. Still, Lily had taken days off work to care for her. Emily had returned to normal eating, well, giggling, playing with her favorite stuffed bunny. But Lily, being a mother, didn't let her guard down. Not even for a moment. That night, after feeding Emily her bottle and singing her to sleep, Lily laid her gently in her white crib, the one beneath the forest mural Nate had painted himself. They kissed her goodnight and turned off the light, leaving the baby monitor on by their bed. At 6 a.m., Lily stirred. Something felt wrong. Emily usually woke at 5 for a bottle, but this morning it was silent. Too silent. Her heartbeat quickened. She rushed to the nursery. When she opened the door, Emily lay still in the crib. Her cheeks were no longer rosy. "Emily," Lily whispered, reaching out with a trembling hand to touch her daughter's skin cold. She screamed. Nate came running. The air thickened instantly, the world crashing around them. The moments that followed were a blur. Nate calling her name, performing CPR, Lily's trembling hands, dialing 911. The phone ringing endlessly, the calm dispatcher asking questions she couldn't understand. The paramedics arrived. They took Emily from her arms. Lily and Nate followed in the ambulance, hollow, shaking. At the hospital, a kind-eyed doctor approached, voice gentle. "We're so sorry. Emily has passed. It appears to be sudden infant death syndrome." Lily stood frozen. There were no screams, no tears. The grief was too big for sound. Nate collapsed against the wall. Lily stared ahead into nothing. Their daughter Emily, with blue eyes and a gummy smile, was gone. They were taken to a private room. There they were allowed to hold her one last time. Lily ran her fingers through Emily's hair, kissed her cold forehead. Nate whispered her name over and over, hoping she could hear. They spent hours memorizing her face, tracing the shape of her little fingers. The world faded around them. Paperwork blurred. The chaplain's words were distant. All they knew was that a part of them had died with Emily. A piece of their hearts, their souls, was gone forever. Lily remembered she had to call her parents. Her hand shook as she dialed. When her mother answered, Lily could only say, "Emily's gone. Last night." "Sid's." There was silence. Then her mother replied, "Oh, that's terrible." No gasp, no cry, no questions. Not even, "How are you, sweetheart?" When the call ended, Lily realized losing Emily had broken her, but being met with silence from her own parents shattered her in an entirely different way. Emily's funeral was scheduled for Friday morning at 11 a.m. at Green Hills Cemetery, a peaceful space reserved for infants and children. Lily chose it for the gentle trees, the soft morning light, the quiet. She wanted her daughter to rest where nature embraced her, in a place as tender as the way Emily had come into the world. After finalizing the arrangements with Nate's parents helping every step of the way, Lily made the call. "Mom," her voice trembled. "The funeral is Friday at 11. Green Hills Cemetery." There was a pause on the other end before her mother responded, "Oh, Lily." "Friday is the day of Kyle's engagement pool party. We've been planning it for weeks." Lily thought she'd misheard. "Mom, this is Emily's funeral. Your granddaughter's funeral. I know, sweetheart. But Kyle's party is important. The whole family's coming. It's too late to cancel now. I hope you understand." "No, I don't," Lily said, her voice tightening. "Please explain it to me." Her mother sighed, her tone light, almost condescending. "Lily, it's just a baby. You're still young. You'll have more children. But an engagement, this only happens once. You can't let your emotions cloud your judgment." Those words cut deeper than anything Lily had ever heard. "Just a baby. You'll have more." They didn't just belittle Emily, they erased her. They denied Lily's grief, her motherhood, her loss. Lily hung up. She didn't cry. She sat on the edge of the bed, gripping her phone, pale and still. Nate came in and saw the emptiness in her face. When she told him what her mother had said, his expression darkened. His fists clenched. He moved toward his phone, ready to call and confront them. But Lily stopped him. "Don't," she whispered. This isn't a surprise anymore." That Friday, Lily dressed in a simple black dress and walked into the cemetery carrying a grief she couldn't name. Friends, neighbors, colleagues, Nate's family all showed up. Everyone except her own parents and brother. After the final prayer, after the last rose was laid on the tiny white casket, Lily glanced at her phone and saw Instagram notifications. Kyle had posted photos from the party, her mother smiling brightly with a champagne glass, her father lounging by the pool with a towel over his shoulders while their granddaughter was being buried just 3 miles away. This wasn't forgetfulness. It was a deliberate choice. And in that moment, Lily didn't just feel grief. She felt clarity. For the first time in her life, she saw it plainly. They had never chosen her. And now they hadn't chosen Emily either. After the funeral, Lily didn't cry. She couldn't. She had no tears left. The days that followed blurred into one long, numbing silence. She and Nate moved like ghosts through their home, a house that had once echoed with Emily's laughter, now reduced to the hum of the heater and the ticking of clocks that seemed to mock them. Emily is gone. Nate's parents came almost daily. His mother brought the soup Lily liked. His father made calls about paperwork, death certificates, insurance. But Lily's own parents, no calls, no texts, no visits, nothing. A week after the funeral, Lily's phone finally rang. It was her mother. "Hi, Lily," she said brightly, as though nothing had happened. "Just wondering how you and Nate are doing. We're having Sunday dinner this weekend. Kyle and Stephanie will be sharing their wedding plans. You two should come. It might help you feel better." Lily froze. She answered with dry calm. "Mom, I just buried my daughter. Without my parents there. How do you think I feel?" There was a pause. "Now, Lily, don't take that tone. We couldn't cancel Kyle's party last minute. People were already on the way. Life goes on." That phrase, "life goes on," echoed in Lily's mind like poison. 2 weeks later, Lily and Nate reluctantly attended the dinner. She had to see them to see with her own eyes if her parents could truly pretend Emily had never existed. And they could. No one mentioned the funeral. No one asked how Lily was. The entire evening revolved around wedding dresses, cake tastings, and Kyle's honeymoon plans. When Lily finally asked, "So, was the pool party fun?" the room fell silent. Her mother forced a smile. "Let's not bring up sad things at dinner, dear." Her father added, "What's done is done. No point dredging it up." Kyle frowned. "You always make everything so dramatic." Mom and Dad had to make a choice. They couldn't be in two places at once. Lily sat there numb. It wasn't just denial she was hearing, it was an admission. Later that week, Lily called her Aunt Judith, a close relative who had attended the funeral. In conversation, Judith said casually, "Your mom told everyone your father had thrown out his back and they had to stay home, said he couldn't sit or travel." Lily was silent. The pain that rose in her wasn't just grief, it was the clarity of betrayal. They had chosen not to come, and when the weight of that decision became too heavy, they fabricated a new version, one that spared their reputation but ignored their granddaughter's life. And that to Lily was worse than their absence. They were ashamed enough to lie, but not ashamed enough to apologize. Lily hadn't planned to go, but somehow she found herself standing at the door of the house she once called home, holding a framed photo of Emily and an envelope filled with printed documents, evidence of a lifetime of being dismissed. It was a quiet Sunday evening dinner. The house was as neat and sterile as ever. Her mother greeted them in a floral dress, lipstick perfect. Her father nodded from his usual armchair, not even bothering to stand. Kyle and Stephanie sat on the couch surrounded by wedding magazines and budget spreadsheets. "Lily, Nate, dinner's almost ready," her mother chirped as though nothing had happened. During the meal, they spoke about cake tastings, live bands, and reception venues. No one mentioned Emily. No one mentioned the funeral. Lily silently glanced at a new photo on the wall, Kyle and Stephanie grinning in swimsuits at the pool party the same day Emily had been buried. As her mother brought out dessert, Kyle's favorite pudding, Lily put her fork down and asked calmly, "So, was the party fun?" The room froze. Her mother paused before forcing a smile. "Lily, let's not bring up unpleasant things at the dinner table." "Unpleasant things? You mean my daughter's funeral?" Lily's voice cut through the room. "You didn't come. Dad didn't come. Kyle didn't come. You were all too busy drinking champagne." Her father cleared his throat. "There's no point dwelling on the past." "The past?" Lily asked. "Emily was your granddaughter, and you said, 'She's just a baby. You'll have another.' That wasn't a mistake. That was a choice. Wasn't it?" Kyle looked up annoyed. Mom and Dad chose to be with me that day. They couldn't be in two places at once. That's all there is to it. I don't blame you for being chosen, Lily said, her voice steady. I blame you for pretending that choice didn't come with consequences. Lily opened her purse and placed the photo of Emily in the center of the table, a close-up of her bright-eyed, smiling baby. This is Emily, the person you all abandoned. She pulled out the packet of documents, a timeline of years, birthdays delayed for Kyle's tournaments, holidays shortened for his events, forgotten accomplishments, minimized achievements, all while Kyle was celebrated. Her mother's face paled. Her father remained rigid, fists clenched in his lap. I didn't come here for an apology, Lily said. I came to show you the truth and to tell you that I'm stepping back. Because if you couldn't respect Emily while she was alive, then I'll protect her memory now that she's gone. After that tense dinner, Lily never went back to her childhood home, but that didn't mean she stayed silent. In fact, in the stillness of sleepless nights, a decision slowly formed, not for revenge, but for clarity. To stop the denial, to make the truth undeniable. In therapy sessions with Dr. Patrice, a specialist in grief after infant loss, Lily began to open up. Not just about Emily, but about the quiet wounds she had carried since childhood, the forgotten birthdays, the exams no one asked about, the offhand comments that left lasting scars. You've spent your whole life trying to earn recognition, Dr. Patrice said. But now you're not seeking approval, you're seeking truth. One afternoon, Lily pulled out an old box from beneath her bed. Inside were pieces of a story she hadn't realized she'd been collecting: birthday cards with generic messages, family photos, where she stood on the edges, text threads, always centered around Kyle. She began organizing them, creating a timeline, printing screenshots, piecing together the pattern. It wasn't just a feeling anymore, it was fact. And she needed others to see it too. That evening, she sat with Nate and said, I'm going to talk to them, but this time not to be understood, but to make them face the truth. I won't let them blur Emily into the background. I won't let them rewrite our story like they were present when they weren't. And if they won't hear it, Nate asked gently. Lily met his eyes, not angry but resolute. Then I'll know, and I'll walk away for real. But this time, I'll walk away with clarity, with no doubt that it was never about me not being enough. The next morning, Lily sent the text, Mom, Dad, I'd like to meet this Sunday at 2 p.m., just the three of us. There's something important I need to say. The reply came almost instantly. Her mother wrote, Wonderful, I'll make your favorite lemon cake. I'm so glad you're ready to let this go. Lily read it, set the phone down, and smiled, not from relief, but with the weary calm of someone who finally understands there's nothing left to lose. Only the truth left to speak. On Sunday afternoon, Lily stood in front of her childhood home, a place that once felt like shelter, now only a museum of misplaced affection and old wounds. She wore a soft blue blouse, Emily's favorite color, and a delicate necklace with her daughter's birthstone. In her purse was a framed photo, a stack of documents, and a letter written with everything she had left in her heart. Her mother greeted her at the door with a cheerful smile, as if welcoming her in for afternoon tea. Lily, come in, I just pulled the lemon cake from the oven. The house was unchanged, immaculate to the point of sterility, too perfect to feel lived in. Her father sat in his usual chair, nodded without rising, still half focused on his newspaper. Lily took a seat across from them, placing her purse carefully at her side. I'd like to talk before we eat, she said, voice steady and sharp without being raised. Her parents exchanged a glance, surprised but composed. Of course, her mother replied, sitting beside her husband. Lily reached into her bag and pulled out the framed photo of Emily, taken at 4 months old, with bright blue eyes and a smile that could break your heart. She placed it on the coffee table between them. This is Emily, she said. Your granddaughter, the child you chose not to say goodbye to. Silence. Neither of them looked at the photo. Lily continued. I've been silent my whole life. when my birthday was rescheduled for Kyle's game, when my graduation dinner was cut short because he had a date, when you helped him buy a condo and said nothing to me while I struggled with student loans. I got used to being second. She handed them the stack of documents, a timeline, screenshots, old photos. It's all here. Proof that I wasn't imagining it. You really did overlook me. Her father flipped through the papers, then asked, "What's this supposed to accomplish?" Lily didn't hesitate. "To show you that missing Emily's funeral wasn't an accident. It was the end result of a lifetime of choosing Kyle and forgetting me." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "Lily, I didn't know. I didn't know it hurt this much." "And that's what hurts the most," Lily replied, her voice trembling but unshaken. "That you only see it now after the proof. Not when Emily died. Not when I stood alone by her casket." She pulled out the letter, hands trembling, but her words crisp. In it, she had written, "I don't need an apology. I need acknowledgement that Emily existed, that I lost my child, and that you weren't there. If one day you can truly face that and choose to change, I'll be open to reconnecting. But until then, I need space to protect my daughter's memory." Lily stood, bowed her head briefly. "That's all I came to say. The rest is up to you." And for the first time in her life, she walked out of that house without lowering her head, without regret, and without needing their approval. After that final meeting, Lily never returned to her parents' home. But she didn't have to, because this time, the truth walked out on its own. She didn't post a rant. No accusations, no long explanations. Just a quiet photo of Emily on her first birthday with a simple caption, "You deserve to be remembered." You are not silence. People who had known Lily began to reach out, asking, wondering, sharing their surprise. Some who had attended the funeral started speaking up, recalling how Lily's parents were noticeably absent, how Nate's side of the family did everything to show support, while her own side offered only silence. The story made its way through the family. An Aunt Pam, who had stayed neutral for years, called Lily for the first time. "Your mom told us you asked them not to come to the funeral," she said, "but after seeing what you shared, I know now. That was a lie." Lily wasn't shocked, but hearing someone finally call it what it was made her throat tighten. Then Amanda, an old college friend, called. "I remember when your birthday was canceled because Kyle had a stomach ache. You laughed it off, but I could tell it crushed you. I wish I'd spoken up then." The truth spread not because Lily forced it, but because people were finally ready to see what had always been there. Kyle, furious, sent her a message. "You're making Mom and Dad look bad. All this because you can't let go." Lily replied, "No, I just stopped keeping secrets. The shame doesn't come from me, it comes from what they did." A week later, Kyle held a rescheduled engagement party. Several relatives declined the invite. A few texted Lily privately, "I can't pretend anymore." Emily deserved a family that didn't abandon her. For the first time, the consequences of silence weren't just Lily's to bear. They now belonged to the system that had protected silence for years. Lily didn't gloat. She didn't smile with revenge. She just felt lighter. There was no need to prove anything. The truth had already done that. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel crazy dramatic or too emotional. She just felt normal, balanced, and quietly powerful. After everything, Lily wasn't waiting for an apology. She no longer sought validation from her parents, nor explanations from extended family. The loss had happened, and the only thing she could control now was how she chose to live forward. Each morning, she still woke early, made coffee, watered the porch plants, and whispered softly, "Good morning, Emily." Not out of desperation, but as a quiet ritual, a reminder that love still lived there even without a physical presence. Lily began to write. At first, they were scattered journal entries, then letters to Emily. She didn't post them or share them. She simply wrote so that the words long held in silence could finally exist somewhere. One day she came across a notice at the local community center, a support group for grieving parents. She hesitated, then signed up. For the first few weeks, she only listened. But one evening when a young mother broke down and said, "I feel like the world has forgotten my child," Lily reached out, took her hand, and said firmly, for the first time, "Your child isn't forgotten. We will remember for the world." From then on, she began sharing her story not to vent, but to connect. The small group meetings became spaces of healing. Once a grieving father hugged her and whispered, "Thank you for saying the things I couldn't." Slowly, Lily was no longer drowning in grief. The pain didn't vanish, it became part of her background, a quiet rhythm that no longer consumed her. She and Nate took their first trip in years not to escape, but to live. They traveled to the mountains of Colorado, a place they once promised Emily they'd take her when she was older. At the summit, they hung a small wind chime with her name so that every gust of wind might carry her voice back to the world. Her parents never called again, and somehow, that no longer hurt. One day, she looked at an old photo of Emily and realized her daughter was no longer just grief. She was light woven into the fabric of her life. And Lily's role wasn't to hold on to the darkness, but to carry that light forward. She began writing a book not about betrayal, but about the strength of not giving up. About speaking the truth, walking away with wholeness, and choosing to heal. Even when no one says sorry. A year after Emily's passing, Lily hosted a small memorial in the backyard. There were no speeches, no formal ceremony, just a circle of mothers, fathers, and a few friends who brought mementos of the children they once held and lost. In that garden, Lily had planted a magnolia tree, the kind Emily never lived long enough to see bloom. Now the tree stood nearly shoulder high, its lush green leaves a quiet reminder that life continues even after pain. Beneath the tree, Lily placed a small wooden plaque engraved with the words, "For the children who were never loud enough to be remembered but always loved." Everyone was invited to write their child's name on a paper leaf and hang it from the branches so the tree would not just carry Emily's name, but symbolize all the children forgotten by society, by families, or by a world too quick to look away from grief it doesn't know how to hold. Lily was no longer the woman abandoned at her daughter's funeral. She had become the voice for those who never got to speak their grief aloud. Together with a few friends, she founded a small nonprofit called the Emily Project, dedicated to helping grieving parents, especially those who had been unsupported by their families or communities. Each month, they mailed out remembrance kits filled with handwritten letters, small booklets, and memory cards to families across the country. One day, Lily received a letter from a mother named Alexis in Ohio. "I thought I was going crazy because no one remembered my daughter. But when I read your story, I realized I'm not crazy. I'm just a mother grieving in a world that doesn't know how to listen." Lily folded the letter, placed it next to Emily's photo, and whispered, "See, baby, you're helping people live." She hadn't fully forgiven her parents, but the rage no longer anchored her. The center of the story had shifted. It was now what Emily had left behind, even without ever speaking a word. When spring came again, the magnolia bloomed across the garden. And in the warm breeze, Lily lifted her head, closed her eyes, and smiled because now she was no longer a victim of forgetting. She was a voice for what deserves to be remembered.